Well gang, after an appetizer set, a Chinese exclusive toy line, and 2 years of waiting, it's finally here, the Chuggington Alpha Group toy line! To say I've been excited for this is a massive understatement. I've been waiting literally 2 years to see these, and let me tell you, they did not disappoint. Not only did it end up sparking the development of a brand new series for my channel, but I was actually gifted some of the toys to use in my videos. Yeah, you heard me right, this isn't a sponsored video. I was literally gifted the 2 sets I'm going to be talking about in this video for use on my channel, and so before we get things started, I just want to extend a hearty thank you to Scott and Megan at Alpha Group US, and Anira and Catherine over at channel Frederator for making this possible. You guys are amazing, and I hope to work with you guys even more in the future, but right now, we've got 2 sets to cover. Specifically, this video is going to be taking a look at the 2 track sets they just released for the toy line, the All Aboard Starter set featuring Wilson, and the Safari Park track set featuring Matambo. So, what are we waiting for? Let's get this show on the road, shall we? So just like last time, let's start from the beginning and look at the packaging for each set. I mentioned in my last toy review that I'm a huge fan of the current style guide being used for the series. The colors and symbols used for this packaging style is just absolutely satisfying to look at. The colors especially, I feel, help to make it pop out on the shelf. It's really satisfying to look at. It's not too bright, but it's not too dark either. It's just that right balance in between. And as you've noticed, there's been some appropriate updates compared to the last set we looked at. The most obvious update is the chuggers, along with some connector brackets, are now shown in a partial window box, along with a more standard 3D illustration of the set, rather than the stock photos we saw last time. But a detail that caught my eye is now each of these track sets feature the locations in these little highlight bars here, which to me is very symbolic of the direction both the show and these toys are going in. From the very beginning, both Season 6 and the new Alpha Group toy line were intended to be much more location-based, as Hirsch Entertainment Studios, the current owners of the property, saw it as evergreen with a lot of world-building potential that was never fully realized for TV production or global consumer products. So to start things off nice and easy, let's take a look at the All Aboard Starter set, featuring a touch-and-go Wilson and arguably the most iconic Chuggington landmark, the colored tunnels of the depot. As you can see, it's more or less a simple figure-8 set featuring Wilson, the depot tunnels, and a railroad crossing, making the toy line starter set based around the depot arguably the most recognizable location in Chuggington is, in my opinion, a very smart move. The tunnels have been made into merchandise in the past, but I think this is their first time making it a central building in a set, which I really appreciate. And as you can see, it all fits pretty snugly in the box and is pretty easy to get out. Now, I will quickly note that for some reason the stickers were missing from my set. This was mainly for the crossings in the depot building, so they're gonna look a little bit bare for this set. I did order a second one for the production of Toy Tales, so this isn't really a big deal for me, and besides, we're not worrying about stickers, we want to look at the set itself. And one thing I want to talk about really quick before we build it is the new track system, which, I gotta be honest, this is probably the best the brand has ever had. Apart from the risers being a little bit lower, this pretty much works with Stack Track and is, in my opinion, a beautiful fusion about the best of every Chuggington track system we've gotten up till this point. The connection system of Stack Track with a more sturdy girder system, the detailing of the wooden railway system, heck, it even has that accessory connection thing that Connect Tracks had. One of the few good things I could say about the Jazzwares toy line looking back. And one of my absolute favorite aspects, there's now wooden railway adapters in these sets. Wooden railway adapters. Do you realize what this means? I can finally make Wilson and Thomas meet! Want to go to the water tower later? Yeah, sure. Speaking of, this Wilson featured in the set is one of the new touch-and-go chuggers, which uses touch activation technology. And man, I was barely scratching the surface last time when I said this was an improvement. I mentioned before that I wasn't too big on the Tomy motorized line, mostly because of the awkward-looking designs of some of the chuggers, and because they're advanced trainee chuggers, you couldn't really get the regular designs. But here, not only do we get the regular Wilson design, but he looks better in every way. Not only is it his regular design without any of the weird details like the splashers and the arrows, but he's actually more proportionate in my opinion. He's a little bit taller compared to them, which in my opinion makes it look a little less awkward, and there's a really nice amount of texture to him. Like, I didn't expect the extra textures they were adding to him, and to me it just makes it look all the more nice. And the same not only applies to the other touch and goes, but also the look-alive chuggers, which I really regret not getting for this video. They look so cool! But I think I've talked enough technicals for now. Let's see this set put together. This was a lot bigger than I was expecting, and I love it. Man, stickers or no stickers, that depot building is just a nice centerpiece to have. The brick texture, the general look, and also the extra tunnel portals mean I'm gonna have a lot of fun later. Just you wait.
But first I gotta get Smeepy on off switch at the bottom so we can get him moving. He's got his batteries on. Oh, he's already moving a little bit. And here we go. Now he's moving properly.
So yeah, the touch and go tech works surprisingly really well. It's weird not having buttons and switches to get him going, but it kind of helps him make a little more proportionate, and he runs pretty well, all things considered. He runs around pretty smoothly, doesn't really struggle on the hills, which have a bit more grip to them compared to the previous toys. And not only is this a decently sized set despite how relatively simple it is, the simplicity of it is very weirdly enough really refreshing to see out of this. With how long Thomas went with all sorts of gimmicks and marketing stunts with a lot of their more recent sets up till now, it's kind of nice to have a train set that's just a train set. It's also why I think a lot of the playsets from the original Chuggington toys didn't really take off. The vehicles were great, while the sets were focused more on gimmicks than recreating stuff from the show. But here, to provide some contrast, you just let your train run around and I gotta stop him right here. And then you can just put up these gates over here, and then you can send him on his way, and then bada boom! There he goes. Now, one thing I want to acknowledge with each of these playsets is that there were a couple of interesting prototypes shown off before the official launch, typically through toy fairs or demo videos released to certain retailers. Beyond a more show-accurate color scheme for the tunnels, there was originally going to be a platform with V in the Clock Tower, alongside a more bulky-looking crossing. Between the UK and New York toy fairs, the V and Clock Tower platform were taken out, the colors and spaces from the other two tunnels were taken out, and over time the crossing gate was gradually simplified. I would like to see V and the Clock Tower eventually given their own track pack or expansion pack, but personally I definitely prefer the final crossing that they went with. It feels a lot more in line with the show, and doesn't feel quite as bulky looking, and allows for a little more possibilities. It's weird how just adding a little pattern can make this feel less like a generic piece and more like a Chuggington piece. Overall, for the standard retail price of about $20 depending on where you go, I think this is a pretty nice starter set. Nothing too fantastic, but it's nice and simple, and it's pretty nice to have one of the most iconic locations in Chuggington finally get its own centerpiece. But hey, with that out of the way, time to talk about the big holiday toy of the toy line, the Safari Park Track Set. This is, of course, based on the Safari Park, one of the most recognized and well-known locations in the series, and one that has gotten a decent amount of merchandise in the past, ranging from, that was alright, to jazzwares. Though strangely, I just realized this is the first set that actually features Matambo at the Safari Park. That's kind of weird in hindsight, isn't it? I think beyond a tie-in set they did for the Badge Quest shorts, it's usually been Coco or Brewster who've been featured in the Safari sets, which is really weird. You'd think the character that runs the Safari Park would be the character they would put in the sets, but I guess not. But hey, it's another way of showing that Alpha really did their homework on this, and it's pretty interesting that their big holiday toy isn't one of the trainees being featured. It's a side character, which, again, is really cool. Now, just like the All Aboard starter set, this is a pretty well-packed set. There's not too much bloating here, and everything came out pretty okay. And you can probably already tell that this is going to be a fairly decently sized set to build. Holy moly! And don't you worry, the stickers were included this time, so no worries there. Well, I've got everything here, so it's about time I get this set put together. I'll just get the instructions, and let's see what we got. Oh, okay, this might be a little bit bigger than I was expecting, but can't be that big. Criminy Jim, this is massive. I love this. I want you to keep in mind, this is a standard retail price set of $35, and this is enormous. Holy moly. Compared to the starter set, we have essentially gone from a branch line to a whole main line. And before I start the tour, oh man, I love the Matambo in this set. Apart from a couple of places they didn't paint, he looks pretty much spot on to the series. It's pretty much a beefed up version of the die-cast toy from when they first launched the series. Although keep in mind, I'm using the Chugger Championship variant because I don't own the original one, but still, look at this, it's pretty much right on point. Keep in mind, Matambo is one of the two completely from the ground up touch and go chuggers they're releasing in this wave, and he just looks amazing for one of their first ones. But enough gushing about Matambo, let's go take a tour with him in his little trailer, shall we? So as we begin our journey, we head through the iconic Safari Park gates and head up to an elevator station where we got Ebo the elephant waiting. After I quickly head back over after my poor braking to go pick him up, we load him into the wagon, and then we're off to take him for the rest of the tour of the park. And while we send them off on their little tour, I just want to say really quick that this elevator is a really cool piece. It's really fun to play with. As our tour traverses, we get to see a little bit more of what this set has to offer. There's a little zip line with a swinging monkey you can move around. a little cave at the end with a lion, which I think was a cut element from Season 6 if the Celebrate Chuggington special indicated anything, and easily my favorite part of the whole set, the crossing gate. You think it's manual? Whoa! It's a touch and go thing too! The fact that the touch and go tech isn't just limited to chuggers, but is also being applied to destinations is amazing to me. And this is making me wonder what the heck are they planning next, and when can I see it? So you can pretty easily tell that despite its rather simplistic appearance, this is a pretty nicely loaded set. Between the crossing gate, the elevator, and all these other little things like this little cave that's on the hill, there's a lot of imaginative play potential for kids and fans of the show, and it's something I really appreciate seeing. Like the All Aboard starter set, it's a relatively simple in design set, but it works really well with how much they end up giving you and how much space there is. Like the fact that the other animals can fit into the trailer too just leaves so many opportunities for kids to play along or come up with their own stories. It's just a fun set, man! And for $35, it's bang for your buck. Now, much like the All Aboard starter set, this went through a few different revisions before getting to the final form we see. While again I do wish they had the more show-accurate colors, I think the final product is a little bit better. Admittedly, I kinda see why they changed the gray, it doesn't stand out that great, the zebra run thing doesn't look like it would have worked quite as well as they initially planned to, and beyond the very smart decision to make the two hills into one, the elevator does kind of have a pretty janky design looking back and might not have worked as great as the final one. This is why prototypes are prototypes. They're meant to see what works, what doesn't work, and what their target audience will find a worthwhile, affordable product. Plus, it's pretty interesting to see that the elevator station was actually inspired by the main train station scene in the series. Oh, by the way, you can use that piece as a station. That is such a cool touch. This isn't just me geeking as a Chuggington fan, this is just really good toy design. Like, they really put a lot of thought and effort into this, and I kind of love it. Now, as much as I've been praising this as a completely perfect set, there is one minor fault that is very important to mention, and that is the animal trailer included in the set. Now, the wagon itself is pretty good on its own, lots of nice textures, runs pretty smoothly, but it's the rear coupling that kind of takes this down a decent bit, because let's say you want to add another wagon to your train, and you set it uphill, and then due to this not having the regular rear coupler, it just jams up a little bit because it's stuck in the one place, so your chuggers can only really go up and down when pushing it up and gets it stuck in curves, while the front coupler is perfectly fine since the other chuggers just use the standard back coupler. Interestingly enough, the prototypes actually show an actual back coupler used instead of the one we get in the set. I'm guessing this was meant to be an add-on and was eventually scrapped because it might have provided a choking hazard, but it's sort of weird how they decided on this coupler rather than the more standard one. I hope this is something they fix for future sets because this is the only flaw out of what's pretty much been a really great toy line, especially with their vehicles. Plus, this still looks way better than the Jazzwares toys any day, especially when you consider their Safari Park set. I'll take one bad coupler on a car that I can use with my other chuggers rather than a coupling system that just does not work with some of this stuff. Look at this poor parrot, he's struggling, man. It works well on its own and I'm willing to take that, but overall the fact that is my only problem between these two sets speaks numbers. This isn't just some of the best Chuggington merch we've gotten in years, it's in my opinion some of the best Chuggington merch in general. The chuggers are great, the accessories you get in these sets are wonderful, you get a lot of track mileage, they're just good sets. There's nothing I can really say bad about them. And the fact that the chuggers not only work with other track systems, but also additional older merchandise means you can do a lot of crazy things like this. To say that I was like a kid on Christmas doing this is a vast underestimation. This is just two sets and some bits and bobs of older merchandise, and already it's even bigger and cooler than before. And I haven't even used the wooden tracks on this yet. Can you imagine what it's going to be like when we see more of these chuggers running around with more compatible rolling stock? Which, speaking of which, before we wrap up, just like last time, we're going to go take a look at the other merchandise that's currently available. I did actually order a few of these to talk about them for hopefully the end of the video, but unfortunately they didn't get in time, but either way, I still wanted to talk about these from what I've seen and what I'm planning to get. No pun intended, but I did want to touch on the touch and go chuggers once more. And personally speaking, I think these look really, really good. The redesigned Brewster and Coco look great. An action chugger makes me really excited to see what other characters are going to look like. I'd love to see Zack updated next. He was one of the better Tomy molds and I think would fit in really well. There's also look-alive chuggers, which are essentially push trains based on the original diecast toys, but with special features added to them. I love that they're sticking to the diecast designs and these look insanely fun. I want to make Brewster do things like a puppet.
Honkin' horns!
Although what's interesting about these two ranges is that they're being sold as multi-packs rather than single packs over in the US. While I do wish the puzzles were still included for the look-alive chuggers and Frostini was released in some way or form, which is probably going to be spring with the next couple of chuggers, I do actually like the way that they arrange these. The look-alive chuggers 3-pack is just the 3 trainees right up in center, no worries about finding them, and the way the touch-and-go packs are set up is actually really smart. You got the all-aboard starter set, then you don't need to worry about getting Wilson and Action Chugger. You can get Brewster and Coco to join them. Don't want the all-aboard starter set and you just want the Safari set or the chuggers on their own, then you can just go and purchase both packs. I do know Barnes & Nobles has the single packs for the touch-and-goes, but they are randomized if you're ordering online and they're only available in select stores. There's also a re-release of the RC Wilson with a new remote and music and sounds, which is a really fun touch. And of course, to wrap things up, there's the Pop and Transform chuggers, essentially larger versions of the chuggers with some surprise transformations. Every single one actually based on elements from the series. Wilson gets Asher's ladder and fire hoses, Coco has her speed boosters for her advanced training, and Brewster's got a Chuggineer shovel, and there's even a deluxe Rescue Wilson featuring his Chug Patrol attire and CP7, a wagon that was only used for 2 seasons and wasn't even shown in season 6. I know I've been saying this a lot throughout this video, but the fact that they pulled out a wagon from an older episode that is still streaming and available to watch, to me, perfectly represents just how dedicated and deep Alpha Group went into designing this toy line, and God bless them for it. And as someone who loved fun, silly gimmick sets as a kid, this is to me how you do this kind of toy. Don't misshape it to fit the gimmick, essentially make a larger scale version of the character, and then have some surprises fitted in. I've just realized this video has been going on way longer than I was initially anticipating, so maybe it was a good thing I didn't exactly have all of these toys to review, because we would have been here a lot longer. With that in mind though, I better start wrapping this up a little bit. Okay, so I'm finishing editing up the video, and I just found out that the toys actually just shipped yesterday, so yeah, I probably could have delayed this a little bit more to take a look at those, but I wanted to keep this focused on the 2 track sets, and there's a lot to cover, so let's wrap it up. You know, it's really weird realizing just how much Chuggington has ended up changing over the last couple of years. Around 2018, there was a certain level of uncertainty about what was going to happen with the brand. The Jazzwares toy line failed, there was no real money to produce new episodes, we didn't know what was going to happen. And now, seeing all of this, seeing how great the new season is and how great these toys are, it's kind of amazing to look at, and I guess to end off this year of ramblings, which has been a little bit more productive and has discussed a show that has been very negatively received for a lot of understandable reasons, I guess I kind of want to leave this on a bit of a message. After doing this video and just having this constantly positive energy about this, I want to do a video on Season 6 next year, because everything about Chuggington right now is, I feel, what a lot of people have been wanting from Thomas for the last few years. I've talked with both people from Hershend and Alpha, and there's just nice, positive, passionate energy with the brand that I haven't really seen in a long time, and it's really inspirational for me. There's a quote that says, "When you hit bottom, the only way you can go is up." And that's kind of the energy I felt with Chuggington for the past year. The show is gradually evolving from just another typical preschool show to one that's more emotionally charged, more character-driven, taking advantage of this vast world they've developed over the years. And what we've seen with this launch wave shows that they're doing the exact same with the merchandising and licensing. There are so many possibilities open with what they did with these sets. Like, can you imagine a dock set with the touch-and-go technology? I can't imagine what you could do with that. Like, imagine, like, a ship you can pull in, a touch-and-go crane. So many possibilities are open now, and it's amazing. I'm not just praising this because I got gifted toys to use on a fan series. I'm praising this because it's a great brand that I wish a lot more people gave a lot more appreciation to. And it's fine if it's not your thing. It's not meant for everybody. It's a series meant for really young kids. But it's one that I think deserves a lot more credit for how much respect, integrity, and genuine passion is going into it right now. Oh boy, so that was a bit of a tangent. So overall, it's pretty easy for me to say I recommend these toys if you're really into Chuggington, if you're just getting into Chuggington, or if you have kids that like Chuggington. These are really great prices, these are really great sets, and there's a lot of great stuff to choose from, and a lot of stuff hopefully coming in the future. Currently, as far as I know, these are available at Walmart, Target, Barnes & Nobles, and Amazon for the US and UK. There's also a lot of international retailers that are starting to get these in. I hope Canada gets these soon, because I would like to get these a little bit easier without having to worry about shipping fees and stuff. But yeah, wherever you can find them, definitely pick them up. They're great, they're affordable, and they're just fun. I hope you guys enjoyed what has been my biggest ramblings to date. Oh man, this is like 21 minutes, I think. So I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna go enjoy my holiday, try and save up for more of these toys, and I'll see you guys in the new year, I suppose.